It's 5:30, so we'll call to order this meeting for Tuesday, February 21st. Jordan, would you please start us off with a roll call?
Please respond by stating present. Councilmember Ronayne.
Present.
Faubourg. Liebelt.
Present.
Reif.
Present.
Johnson.
Present.
Reinbold.
Present.
Langer.
Present.
Norvstrup.
Present.
Mayor Schoeneman.
Present. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. First order of business will be to approve this week's printed agenda. Can I get a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion, Councilman Reinbold, second. Councilman Ronayne, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next will be to approve the minutes for our previous meeting, which took place on February 6th. Could I get a motion to approve the minutes of that meeting, please?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilwoman Liebelt and a second from Councilman Ronayne. Any changes or anything anyone noticed on those minutes? All right, then, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. No one has signed up to speak at our open forum. Looking around the room, all the usual suspects. We'll move right along to our consent calendar where we've got 5 items of routine city business. Can I get a motion for our consent calendar items, please?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Norvstrup and a second from Councilman Reinbold. Does anyone from the council have anything to state or question about any of these consent calendar items before we take our vote?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
So, I feel like as a council and just as a person in business in general, we get a lot of questions about liquor. And I noticed on this one, there's the transfer of 322 to the Circus Suite and then a liquor restaurant license being issued to 322. So I just thought it might be a good time to just point out how that occurs because in case we get calls on that.
Sure.
It looks like we're adding an additional liquor license, which is not what is happening.
All right. So the best that I can tell, and maybe we can talk to Brett for a little bit of clarification. Would you be the right man for that, Jeff? One went out of dormancy to fill the circus, but it was jostled around with the 322, which would allow them to have video lottery machines, and 322 has no video lottery machines, which is a stipulation of the restaurant-only ones. So I believe the restaurant-only ones can be issued by the city, but have the regulation of you can't have more liquor than food being
Right.
sold, and then you can't have liquor. You can also have the video lottery machines, both of which would fit the criteria of 322, but not the circus. So I think they did a swap to put them with their appropriate business entity.
I just think it's good to for people to understand the food and liquor piece going hand in hand, that they serve more food and that this is why this is happening. We're not just adding a random.
Sure. No,
So,
good
it's a,
question,
I haven't seen
Tiffany.
this in a really long time, so I just think it's a good.
I feel like they've been switching a lot lately. to
No,
be
not.
honest
But
with
I
you.
feel like this restaurant liquor one is not one I've seen, I guess, for a while.
What's that? Relatively new, but we recently did the one for Scotty's that used to be, or the event company that used to be out at Mulligan's. Same type of a deal. Anything else from the council before we take our vote on our consent calendar? All right then, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll move right along to our new business where we've got a public hearing and possible approval of a retail on-off sale wine and cider license, as well as on-off sale malt beverage and South Dakota Farm wine license for the Act 2, which does business as the Aberdeen Community Theater at 415 South Main. Nobody's here to speak on behalf or against that entity receiving that retail license, so I would take a motion from the council if someone was interested.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Ronayne and a second from Councilman Rife. Anything to add from anyone on the council? All right, then we'll take a voice vote on that one. All in favor, please say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll have a second item of new business, which is much the same. We've got a public hearing and a possible approval of a special one-day retail on-sale liquor license for the Northern State University Foundation, doing business as Apex Events LLC at the Northern State University Bourbons and Brews event, which will take place on campus at 1416 South State Street. Again, no one here to speak on behalf or against that, so I would take a motion from the council if someone was interested.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Northrup and a second from Councilman Reinbold. Anything from anyone on this? All right then, all in favor, please say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll move along to our possible approval of the reappointment and appointments of various board members to the Downtown Business Improvement District 1 Board of Directors for a term beginning in January 19th of this year and ending on December 31st of 2025. We've got a whole host of names, so I'll kick that over to Joe if you wanted to expound upon any of that.
Yes, there's 7 total, 4 new appointments and 3 reappointments. You have their names there, and then also they included a nice little summary in case you don't know them, a little bit about them. They're all good folks. That board's doing some good stuff, and we recommend approval.
I'll move it.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question after?
Sure thing. First off, I've got a motion from Councilman Ronayne, a second from Councilman Northrup. Councilwoman, what have you got?
I was just curious how many people are on that bid board of directors and how the terms are staggered. It just seems like a lot of reappointments and appointments all at once for a board that in my mind is only around 9 people.
Joe, how many are on that board?
That's correct. I know there's 1, maybe 2 more. This was most of the slate. They can do 3 3-year terms, so that's why we're seeing several reappointments. And then those that are new, I think most of them are folks that have met that term, that 3-year limit term.
But if they're 3 years, sorry, Mr. Mayor, can I
Go
ask
ahead.
a follow-up? If they're 3-year terms, wouldn't they be staggered? So like a third are at year 1, a third at year 2, and a third at year 3?
You would think that would be the case, but somewhere along the line that's kind of gotten mixed up because I kind of said the same thing. I didn't realize they all went off at one point in time, but something unbeknownst to us has created that.
One more question, Mr. Mayor.
Please.
Is that something that you can fix or that the city can fix, Joe, so that some of these folks have 2-year terms or 4-year terms or whatever the right to get the staggering back in place?
I guess we could, if this wasn't approved in this way, or if we needed to do something different. Like I said, this was a bunch. I agree.
7 out of 9 is a lot at once.
Mr. Mayor, question.
Go ahead, Councilwoman Langer.
When they have someone who leaves, because I'm wondering if some of these are because other board members maybe left, and that's why there's so many, because this doesn't tell us if they're coming on their first term that's in the middle of somebody's year and a half that's left, and I'm wondering if that might be some of this, or
I'm sure that's parts of it. There's things that have happened over the years that's just caused this. There was a lot of confusion of who was on what term, and this kind of straightens some of that out, but it does leave an awful lot at one time.
I'm going to pull City Attorney Ron Wager into this and get his opinion on what it would look like in terms of staggering some of these folks out to different length terms or start different end dates or something, or what would be a rectification in your mind that would be feasible?
So I'm looking at 2 sources. One is whether there's an ordinance that identified these terms, and I don't think that these are actually set by ordinance. I'm double checking, but I'm not seeing anything right now. So it would be terms that are determined by their bylaws, it looks to me. And I would guess too, that's what happened. People had resigned or left and then just got replaced with another new term, and so things get out of whack. We could probably go back to the bid one and see what we can do to modify those terms, maybe adjust these appointments as well. But again, I think we would have to look at their bylaws to get that set up and get things straightened out again.
Well, we're
Mr.
already
Mayor?
beyond the point for their appointments here. Do you think that the best course of action would be to table this measure until that gets straightened out, or to appoint them and leave it to them to see if they couldn't figure out a way to stagger the end dates a little bit differently
I think,
if it's
right,
a concern of theirs?
I do think we can move forward with the appointments, just so we have those people in place. And then give me an opportunity to look at that and see what we can propose to make any changes that we might need. But the council would obviously have the ability to make those adjustments if they're acting beyond their authority. So we can do that for now. So I would suggest that we move forward.
Councilwoman Folberg, do you think that that's an amenable solution in your opinion?
I do. Thank you for considering it. Whatever Ron and the bid district comes up with is fine with me. I just think I would prefer that they were staggered, because that's a lot of turnover when you're trying to create stability.
Indeed, and it
Not
a lot of
necessarily
times it's
now,
hard to.
but 3 years from now, it'd be a lot of turnover.
True. That was a good point, and it's good to get these little things fixed as they come to our attention. So with that, we've got our motion, our second. Does anyone else have any contribution on this topic before we take our vote? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. May the minutes reflect the fact that Ron plans to do some extracurriculars on this after the meeting. Next, we'll move along to our possible approval of a proposal for the water treatment plant. SCADA, would you pronounce it? SCADA systems upgrade submitted by Direct Automation in the amount of $227,112.65. And water plant manager Bob Braun is here to tell us a little bit about that project. Bob?
Yeah, we've chose Direct Automation after doing an interview process with several different, I think there was 4 applicants. This turned out to be the best price, and they're a company that the city's familiar with. They currently take care of the process down at the wastewater treatment plant. So we need to upgrade our SCADA system, make it something more universal. The current one is starting to get outdated. Very few people actually work with it anymore, so we're trying to get something that's universal, that just about any, this is a program that, the program itself is something that most water plants are considering, are using already, so we just want to make it so anybody can come in and take care of things now.
How long has the existing system been in place, Bob?
It's been in there before 2006. I'm not sure how long we've been using it when we were just on the old building.
And is there an ongoing cost associated with the existing system that's being replaced?
The existing one, not really. We have to pay maintenance to keep the license going, but we have in-house. We've been able to deal with most of it, but future retirements are going to make it so that's not available anymore either. So.
And in terms of the length of life on this system upgrade, what would your out-of-the-pocket expectation be?
I would hope to get at least 10 years out of this system. I mean, there'll be different parts of the control stuff throughout the plant that'll have to be updated just because they're coming up to the end of their life already, but the basic program will last quite a while.
All right. I guess we haven't taken our motion on this. Would someone from the council care to carry this agenda item?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Nordstrup and a second from Councilman Ronayne. Kind of hog the limelight there for a moment. Would anyone else from the council have any questions for Bob Braun? All right then. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote on this expense, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Folberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Thanks for joining us, Bob. Move along to our possible approval to authorize the city manager to sign a letter of agreement for miscellaneous services between the city of Aberdeen and Helms and Associates for the Aberdeen Regional Airport. Transportation Director Rich Krokel is here to tell us a little bit about that agreement and what it stipulates. Rich?
Thank you, Mayor. This is an annual agreement that we've had with Helms for several years. It's intended to not exceed $7,500, and the gist of it is anytime that we would need engineering services that would not be covered under an AIP project. Just to kind of recap 21 and 22, that $7,500 agreement came to zero on both years, so we've been able to capture most of their work under the AIP program, or all of their work rather. So we talked about this at Airport Board and recommend approval of it.
I'll move to approve. Second.
I've got a motion from Councilman Johnson and a second from Councilman Reinbold. Any questions for Mr. Krokel? All right then, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next, we've got the possible approval of payments for work on the airport improvement projects, as well as to authorize the city manager to sign those pay requests. We've got payment titled 39, which is for taxiway improvement to Helms for $209.31. A payment labeled number 5 on our runway rehab light project, also to Helms for $24,959.79. And finally, a payment number 12 for our GA apron project, also to Helms and Associates for $965.46. Rich, in your usual style, would you run through those payments for us?
I sure will. Payment 39, or invoice 39, that is for an administrative report that was sent to the FAA, just to kind of update the FAA on the grant status. Invoice number 5, that was for design services on the project that we're going to be doing this summer on runway 1331. That's the rehabilitation. And that one is going to be the 95% bill money, and then 2.5 state, 2.5 city. So that's some engineering and design work. And then payment number 12, again, that one is for administrative services on the GA apron reconstruction project. That'll occur this summer also. So we'll be having 2 projects going out there, overlapping each other.
I'll move to approve all 3 payments.
Second.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks, Rob. We've got a motion from Councilman Johnson and a second from Councilman Ronayne. Any questions from the council for Rich on any of these? All right, Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Norvstrup,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Rafe,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Foberg,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry.
Thank
Rich, thank you for joining us tonight. Next, we've got our review and approval of our claims, which is for obviously this week, February 21st, 2023. Can I get a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilwoman Liebelt and a second from Councilman Rife. Assuming that no one has anything to add about any particulars, remember you can always abstain from individual items. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
I abstain as to payments to B&B Contracting and Climate Control, but I vote aye as to all other bills.
Councilmember Foberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Rife,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
I too will abstain to climate control. Otherwise, the vote is for aye, and it does pass. We will move along to our city manager's report. Joe, interesting snow event outside.
Yeah, we're going to focus on that a little bit. We've had a couple of interesting events, and I think sharing with the council and the public that's listening some of the behind the scenes things that happen. Sometimes we all take for granted and all of a sudden something happens. But between 9 and 9:30 Saturday morning, a lot of folks that live on the east side of town might have been doing their laundry because that's apparently popular. I learned a popular thing to do, or doing a few things around the house, and they noticed they didn't have much water pressure. And this is a sign of the times. Rob and I joked about this wouldn't have happened 20, 30 years ago, but the first thing you do now is you pick up your cell phone, you call or text somebody you know that works for the city. And all of you know me, so several of you texted and called me, including some of our department heads. And when within a few seconds you have several text and phone calls, you know your day and your weekend's changing quickly. And that was the case. And so we had lost a lot of pressure in the system, which typically points to a water main break somewhere. And usually with a water main break, water's shooting out of the ground, and people are happy to tell you about it. Well, people were telling us about their water pressure, and there were several calls to answering machines here at City Hall. Of course, it was Saturday, and we were gone. Dispatch had over 100 calls, but none of them were reporting where the water was. It was just all pressure. So we quickly had folks scrambling. I was on the phone with Robin Bob Zine pretty quick. He was out of town, but his guys had jumped right on it, and I joined them in the field, and we were looking for this water leak that was just pretty tough to find. And this was going on for about a couple of hours that we were scrambling around that part of town and really looking for things to the point we were actually calling more people in on the operational side. And then some of us turned to kind of what I'll call the emergency management side of what do we have on our hands here? We haven't found it yet. How big is it going to be? Are people going to be without water? Are there going to be some system issues? Will we have to distribute water? One of the hospitals was out. This was a big deal. So a few of us gathered in the fire station and started having that discussion. That was about 11:30. And then we were about ready to push the panic button and start moving forward with some long-term things. And we got a call about 12:10 that they had found it. It was out in an area of an open field behind the industrial complex, kind of shadowed by the railroad tracks. So unless you were walking down the railroad tracks, it was pretty hard to find. But that was good news. And the crew was able to isolate it off. We were able to determine that the pressures were going to come back up. We were a little concerned, so we reached out to the state and shared with them the situation. That's where the boil advisory recommendation came from. So quickly, we had folks in the office working on that while we were talking about the plan to move forward. And then we had planned for kind of the emergency management group to get back together at 1:30 for more doomsday news about what are we going to do with this thing. And by then we pretty much had it under control. And then there was about another hour of finalizing plans and sending out some emails and contributing to our media partners. I need to throw in there, we had some really good, fast public information out there. Our staff was putting on our Facebook pages for police and fire. That was helpful. And our media sources were all right on this really quickly too. I did one radio interview live while we were in the middle of determining all this. So technology is definitely on our side nowadays if we can use it. One thing I learned is you do still have to do the real hands-on thing. So sometimes you have to put the technology down to determine what was going on. But it was interesting. It was a fast 5 hours. We thought it went pretty well. We hadn't had a test like that in a while. Some of our frontline folks that usually handle this were either out of town or off on a vacation or leaving for a vacation. So we were down the bench a little ways on some of our staff, and they all did great. So I thought that was good. And we thought we were going home over the weekend to relax and be ready to talk about snow on Tuesday, but that changed. But now here it is on Tuesday, and we'll talk about snow a little bit. I shared with the council earlier some of the weather reports that we use to plan what we think we're going to do. And I say me, I basically sit and listen to what Robin and his staff put together and say, I think that sounds great. So we know we're going to have snow for a couple of days. We know that his crews will be out handling the emergency routes, doing some salting, keeping the snow off the emergency routes. It looks like it'll probably be Thursday before we see this stop. And then that 24-hour all-call get it all done. We'll start Thursday night downtown, and then Friday in the residential. So that's what it looks like if the forecast comes through like that. So we've kind of got a plan, but we continue to watch it. There's some phone calls and webinars and things will be on, but that will take a lot of attention over the next couple days. But as soon as the snow, we believe, is fairly well stopped and it shouldn't be in a too unmanageable place, we'll get out there, and the Public Works crew does a great job getting that done. So really the kudos goes to our Public Works crew on a lot of stuff. There were a lot of folks and a lot of departments involved in the water thing this weekend as well. So we have a very good team at all levels functioning here, and we saw that firsthand. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you to the Public Works guys especially for fixing that water problem, and in advance for cleaning up this snow. I would like to remind anyone that might be watching that we had a meeting with the Disability Committee today, and a lot of those folks use the walking trails and sidewalks around town to get around rather than drive, and so it's very important that that we do our best to keep the areas in front of our homes and businesses clean, so that people, especially that have a more challenging time accessing getting around, will be able to do that. So please pay attention to that, and we will do our best to remind residents that are not doing their best at that, so that those folks can get around as best they can. And with that, we will give a few moments for the room to clear. Except the
Mr.
people.
Mayor, I have one thing I need to say. Gotta laugh it up,
Oh.
Joe.
Well, there we go. I'm
Mr.
sorry, I got ahead of myself a little bit. Councilwoman.
Did you?
Councilwoman Langer has an announcement for the group.
Although my husband tells me not to bet, I unfortunately like to make embarrassing bets, and I have to admit that Joe Gott, the city manager of Aberdeen's Kansas City Chiefs, are better than the Philadelphia Eagles.
It wasn't due to any calls, like you aren't blaming any refs. I feel like that's popular.
I mean, I think the public can decide that. I think we all know what happened, but I also need to admit that Decker, the bag boy at Kins, is smarter than I am because he chose the Chiefs, and I at least am known as someone who keeps their bets. So, congratulations to anybody who's a Chiefs fan. You are not my friend. Including my mother, David, Katie, Troy, Rachel, Brittany, all of them in Kansas City. Enjoy your warm weather.
Well, there you go.
Have a great day.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, and thanks for wearing that bright red shirt.
I look great
I'm
in
glad
red.
that you're able to take it with a light heart. All right, so we'll clear the room. A few of us will remain around for an executive session about a contract negotiation in just a moment. We'll take that vote once we've cleared the place a little bit.